2 hours and 53 minutes, a Russian patrol boat radar officer sees something impossible. Ukrainian drones heading straight into Crimea's most protected airspace. What happens next exposes a fatal flaw that just cost Russia over 82 million rubles in their entire western Crimean air defense network. The Pantsir S-1 air defense system locks on. 6 missiles streak through darkness. 32 million rubles of precision weaponry fired in desperation at drones that cost less than an iPhone. Every single missile misses. The drones are still flying, completely untouched. And the Russians are about to discover why their most advanced weapons cannot see what is right in front of them. Here's what you need to understand. Russia just spent the GDP of a small town trying to swat cheap plastic quadcopters out of the sky, and failed, spectacularly. This wasn't operator error. This wasn't bad luck. This was physics saying no to hundreds of millions in military hardware. Western Crimea's entire air defense umbrella about to collapse like a house of cards. Mount Ipetri's radar domes sitting up there like targets at a shooting range, protected by systems that can't protect themselves. Ukrainian FPV drones, the kind hobbyists fly for fun, are about to teach Russia's finest a very expensive lesson. The lead drone's camera feed shows everything. Mount Ipetri growing larger. Those white radar domes catching first light. Prize targets worth more than entire tank battalions. But survival comes first. Down on the beach, a Pantsir S-1 operator is having the worst shift of his life. His billion-ruble defense platform just dumped 6 missiles into empty sky. The threat board's still screaming. Targets inbound. Closure rate increasing. And he's already burned through half his loadout hitting nothing. This isn't obsolete Soviet garbage we're talking about. The Pantsir S-1 represents Russia's premier short-range air defense, designed specifically to intercept cruise missiles, fast movers, precision threats. It should dominate these engagements. Should being the operative word. Because right now it's bleeding ordnance like a stuck pig while drones cruise past untouched. The operator switches to guns. Dual 30mm autocannons. Rate of fire, 2,500 rounds per minute, each barrel. Beautiful tracers painting the sky at 2,500 rounds per minute. Completely useless. The Russian operator was facing a problem he could not possibly understand, and it was about to get much worse. Those glowing streams of cannon fire aren't even in the same zip code as the drones. The targeting computer's solving equations, calculating intercept points, predicting flight paths, all worthless. Here's why. That Ukrainian drone is flying perpendicular to the radar beam. 50 meters altitude, perfect geometry to create what's called a Doppler notch. Radars don't just spot objects, they measure velocity, specifically radial velocity. How fast something's moving toward or away from the sensor. Fly sideways across the beam, your radial velocity crashes to 0, and 0 radial velocity looks identical to stationary ground clutter. So, the Pantsir's computer does exactly what it's programmed to do. It filters the target out, ignores it, treats a live drone like a building or a tree. But wait, it gets worse. The Black Sea below is creating ghost targets, radar energy bouncing off the water, reflecting back false images beneath each real drone. The tracking algorithm tries averaging the actual target with its mirror image, sends missiles to the empty space between them. Complete misses. Guaranteed. And those proximity fuses, they need substantial radar cross-section to detonate. Something car-sized, half a square meter of return. These drones give back 1/100th of that. The warheads literally can't see them. They're flying blind, passing within meters, never knowing the target was right there. The missiles don't just miss. They fail to recognize valid threats exist. This fatal flaw in radar-guided systems, the inability to track what physics makes invisible, was about to claim an even more advanced victim. More contacts blooming on the thermal display. Multiple vectors converging. The operator's heart rate is spiking. His system detected these new threats at 2 kilometers out. Sounds like decent warning, right? Wrong. Those missiles need 1.5 kilometers just to arm their warheads. Closure rate of 40 meters per second. Do the math. That's 12 seconds from detection to watching them fly past untouched. 12 seconds to engage targets his billion-ruble system can't track. Radio traffic explodes, controllers demanding air support. The Panzer operator, reporting Winchester on missiles that connected. Someone's voice breaking, talking about tracking failures. Panic spreading through the network. These aren't Tomahawk cruise missiles they spent years training to defeat. These were toys moving at highway speeds, cheap consumer electronics, and somehow that made them invisible. The question no one was asking: if the Panzer S-1 couldn't stop them, what about the fighter jets? 2:58 hours. Lead drone adjusts heading. Lines up on the first dome structure. Inside those protective shells sit radars worth hundreds of millions of rubles, equipment tracking ballistic missiles in space, supposedly detecting stealth aircraft hundreds of kilometers out, providing early warning coverage across the entire Black Sea fleet. The protective domes cost fortunes to construct, engineered to survive 1,000-pound bombs dropped from altitude. Massive overpressure, direct hits, but nobody wargamed this scenario. Consumer electronics attacking at treetop level. That vulnerability never made it into the threat assessment. Additional drones closing on assigned targets. The Panzer operator can only watch his displays and report failure up the chain. His commander's response: immediate, desperate, scramble fighters. Now, get something airborne. Anything. Su-30 drops through pre-dawn darkness. Afterburners painting orange across the sky. This is Russia's frontline air superiority fighter, their answer to American F-15. Fresh from the factory with thrust vectoring nozzles and a BARS radar that supposedly tracks small objects from absurd distances. State-of-the-art, bleeding-edge technology. This Su-30 was Russia's answer to the F-15. Fresh from production with thrust vectoring and a radar that could supposedly track golf balls from space. But it was about to prove something terrifying. Advanced technology means nothing when physics is against you. The pilot's staring at his radar display. It's showing nonsense. Contacts appear, vanish, reappear somewhere else, flicker like dying light bulbs. His system requires 5 consecutive returns to confirm a target's real. Lock quality track data. These drones keep dropping below the noise floor after 2, maybe 3 sweeps. The noise floor is baseline background interference. Every radar has it. When a signal drops below that threshold, the radar can't distinguish target from static. The computer resets, starts over, never accumulates enough data to establish what pilots call a track file. But something else was happening that the pilot couldn't see on his scope. 9 kilometers offshore, additional threats were waiting in a blind zone that physics had carved into every radar system on that mountain. Pilots frustrated, can't maintain lock, can't get firing solution. He ripples off an R-73 anyway. The missile drops free, motor ignites, acceleration to Mach 2.5 in heartbeats. 20 million rubles of precision engineering designed to chase jet fighters through any maneuver they attempt. The drone's camera records everything. That missile screaming inbound. Seeker head active, getting closer, closer. Then it banks hard left like it forgot where it was going. Temperature differential. That's the problem. R-73 infrared seekers hunt for jet exhaust. Engine temps above 1,000 degrees Celsius. Heat signatures visible from 30 kilometers away. These electric drone motors? Maybe 50 degrees Celsius. Barely hotter than your laptop running games. The seeker can't acquire them until 500 meters. By then, closure speed's too high. The missile's turning radius can't compensate. Physics wins again. Second missile away. Passes close enough to rattle the drone's camera from the shockwave. Still no kill. Even pulling 40 Gs at Mach 2.5, that missile's turning radius is still 600 meters. When you're engaging at 2 kilometers, and the target randomly jinks every couple seconds, geometry doesn't work. There's simply not enough space to maneuver. Third missile, fourth missile, 4 missiles fired. Hundreds of cannon rounds expended. 82 million rubles burned in under 3 minutes. 0 hits. And the real nightmare wasn't the waste. It was what happened next. Pilots got one option left. Gun solution. The GSH-31 cannon. He opens fire. 30mm rounds streaming downrange at 1,800 per minute. Nothing connects. The fire control computer calculates perfect lead angles based on a linear trajectory prediction. Assumes the target continues straight flight. Every 2 seconds, these drones shift randomly. Left or right, just 2 to 3 meters. Doesn't sound like much. But by the time those rounds travel a kilometer, that small jink becomes a 10-meter miss. the computers solving last second's problem, while the drones create new ones. 500 meters below his altitude, first drone reaches its primary target, the 96L6E acquisition radar. NATO calls it cheeseboard, sitting exposed on its vehicle mount. This isn't just another radar. It provides targeting data for S-400 batteries, tracks 100 contacts simultaneously, coordinates, handoffs between systems. Without it, those feared S-400s everyone talks about can't see past their own limited sensor range. 311 hours. Shaped charge detonates against the antenna array. Molten copper jet, moving at 8 kilometers per second, punches through delicate electronics, like their tissue paper. The temperature at impact, over 4,000 degrees Celsius, hot enough to vaporize steel, creates conductive pathways between circuits that should never connect. Millions of dollars in sophisticated electronics reduced to smoking debris in under a second. Instant kill. Su-30 pilot pulls up hard. Winchester on missiles. Fuel state critical. Return to base. Immediate. He radios his failure to ground control. 4 air-to-air missiles expended. Hundreds of cannon rounds fired. 0 confirmed kills. As he climbs away, additional drones continue unopposed toward Mount Petri. But something impossible was happening on the radar screens. New contacts appearing from nowhere, materializing 9 kilometers offshore like ghosts rising from the Black Sea itself. The Russians had been so focused on the drones already in the air, they failed to see what was right under their nose the entire time. Ground control confirms the same impossible readings. While Russians fixated on airborne threats, they missed what was happening at sea level. 9 kilometers off Crimea's coastline. FPV drones sitting on launch rails. Operators nowhere near these floating platforms. Unmanned surface vessels. Ursula-class boats. Been loitering here for 2 hours. Completely invisible to every radar on that mountain ahead. The secret? Simple geometry. Not advanced stealth technology. The Podlet K1 radar sits on Mount Petri at 1,234 meters elevation. Can detect aircraft 300 kilometers away. Track ballistic missiles in space. Impressive capabilities, unless you understand basic trigonometry. With a minimum depression angle of -2 degrees, that radar physically cannot see anything below 43 meters altitude within 10 kilometers of shore. These boats cruise at 5 meters above the waves. They're not evading detection. They're sailing through a blind zone the size of Manhattan that physics carved into the coverage map. Seeing the first drones eliminate the S-400 acquisition radar, the USVs start launching additional waves. Electric motors spinning up. Sound like mechanical insects. But how can FPV drones operate dozens of kilometers from shore? The relay system. Ukraine doesn't fly drones directly from Odessa to Crimea on a single radio link. Impossible. Earth's curvature blocks the signal after a few miles. Instead, they use relay boats positioned 10 to 20 kilometers offshore. Think floating cell towers, tall antennas, high-powered radios, Starlink terminals. Drone operator in Odessa sends commands through encrypted internet connection to the boat. Boat transmits those commands to nearby drones. Video feed reverses the path. Drone to boat to Odessa. Almost instantaneous. This setup means Ukraine doesn't need dozens of boats covering 200 kilometers. Just 3 to 5 relay vessels positioned offshore handle the entire mission. They maintain clean, low-latency connection to the drones. Secure long-range data links handle the distance between operator and boats. Operators stay safe far from the front, while flying precision combat missions deep inside Russian airspace. Think about what this means. Needed Podlet's low-altitude tracking to detect anything below 100 meters. Needed that burning 96L6E to coordinate handoffs between systems. Without those radars, operators can only sit and watch. AI Petri command post takes the final hit. This bunker didn't just house computers. It was the brain-making Western Crimea's air defense function as a network. Every track, every identification, every engagement order ran through servers about to become expensive smoke generators. Shape charge turns the reinforced door into abstract art. Fire erupts from the entrance. Everything inside burning. Computers, cables, classified documents, secondary explosions. something volatile cooking off. Probably ammunition or fuel. Whatever command capability existed here is gone forever. Without these assets, the entire chain shatters. Acquisition radars can't find targets to pass to fire control radars. Fire control radars can't receive tracking data to assign to launchers. Launchers can't get information needed to guide missiles to intercept. Every link severed simultaneously. No backups within 100 kilometers. So, what just happened? Ukraine eliminated Russia's entire Western Crimean air defense network, using drones that cost less than smartphones. 82 million rubles burned, stopping exactly nothing. Russia proved expensive doesn't mean effective. Ukraine proved asymmetric warfare works when you exploit physics instead of fighting it. Western Crimea lost its air defense umbrella in under 20 minutes. This is why NATO doctrine now prioritizes countering small drone swarms over traditional air threats. The 2024 Red Sea attacks proved the same principle. Naval and air defense systems worldwide are being rewritten because scenarios exactly like this expose fundamental vulnerabilities in billion-dollar platforms. You're the Panzer S-1 operator at 2:53 hours. Radar shows 11 drones inbound at 50 meters altitude, flying perpendicular to your beam. You've got 12 missiles left, but your tracking computer keeps losing lock after 2 sweeps. Intel warns a second wave is launching from unknown positions offshore. You have 12 seconds before the first drone reaches weapons release range. Do you fire on unstable tracks and risk going Winchester before the second wave arrives? Or do you hold fire and try to identify the offshore launch platforms first? Your S-400 batteries are depending on your acquisition radar staying operational. Drop your tactical decision in the comments and explain your reasoning. There's no right answer, only expensive mistakes. If this breakdown showed you something new about modern asymmetric warfare, hit that like button. It helps us keep producing these deep dive tactical analyses. Subscribe to Ocean Alert for more breakdowns where physics defeats billion-dollar technology.